This is the new Night 4 Cowboy Carter Tour opening screen. We see the same pixelated American flag that we did on the first few nights. However, this time the pixels glitch out one by one. The last stubborn pixel, a white one, struggles to hold on until it finally surrenders to a screen of black. A black flag. A white flag means surrender. A black flag means rebellion. This is the tour page on Beyonce's website. As each show is completed, the star turns white. By the end of the tour, this page will be a black flag dotted with 32 white stars. Coincidentally, we have 32 teeth. To say something with your teeth is to say it with full force, conviction, and aggression. A black and white American flag is used to symbolize mourning for a nation in distress, or stripped patriotism. It is often associated with more militant forms of political protest. Traditionally, in the American flag, red symbolizes hardiness and valor, white signifies purity and innocence, and blue represents vigilance, perseverance, and justice. But let's look at red, white, and blue through a modern and critical lens. Red. It is not just the color of bravery, but the blood of enslaved people who built this country, and indigenous people who were slaughtered for their land. It's the blood that soaked the soil, built the railroads, the fields, the cities, and the very foundations of this nation. Yet, it was never honored. Monuments have been built for white figures over the unmarked graves of those who truly built this country with their blood. Red also represents redlining, where banks, insurance companies, and financial institutions systematically denied services like loans and insurance based on a neighborhood's racial composition. This meant that when disaster hit, these communities had no financial backing to rebuild or protect their property. Redlining created economic segregation by limiting access to homeownership, a primary means of wealth accumulation for many families. Fannie Mae, the Federal National Mortgage Association, is a government-sponsored entity that was created to provide liquidity to the housing market by buying and guaranteeing home loans. Historically, Fannie Mae was tied to redlining because its mortgage policies were influenced by the discriminatory maps created by the Homeowners Loan Corporation, which marked minority neighborhoods as quote-unquote high risk. This reinforced racial segregation and denied marginalized communities access to generational wealth-building opportunities of homeownership. This makes the lyrics of Yaya make so much more sense. My family lived and died in America, good old USA. Whole lot of red in that white and blue. History can't be erased. And wildfire burnt this house down. Insurance ain't gonna pay no Fannie Mae. So hold this holster, pour my liquor, please. Hard-working man ain't got no money in the bank. White. The color of men who stole this land and founded this country we call the United States of America. There are white marble and stone statues built to honor their legacies, some more phallic than others. They founded a country on conditional freedom. You only had it if you were white. White to represent the bones broken by those forced to tend the fields under harsh conditions, and white for the teeth George Washington held in his mouth made of ivory and those of enslaved people. No, his teeth were not wooden, as the old wives' tale tells. White for the myth of racial purity that shaped the country's founding and policies. White for puritanical and rotten religious roots. White for creating a system designed to dominate and exclude. It's the color of power structures that upheld slavery and segregation, reinforcing the belief that white lives matter more than others. It gives the lyrics of Amen a new depth when you view them through this lens. This house was built with blood, red, and white, bone. And it crumbled, yes, it crumbled. The statues they made were beautiful, but they were lies of stone. They were lies of stone. The monuments in the Washington Mall. Blue, a color once tied to justice, law, and order, now represents a system that protects white lives more preciously than black ones. The Blue Lives Matter flag, a black and white American flag with a single blue stripe running through it, emerged in direct response to the Black Lives Matter movement. It symbolizes support for law enforcement and is rooted in the thin blue line ideology, which frames police as the barrier between order and chaos. But in reality, they are often the ones escalating peaceful protests into violence. Today, blue symbolizes authority, but not one governed by justice. It's authority clouded by prejudice, sustained by racism, and too often used to uphold a broken status quo. And when the law serves only to punish and not protect, why should citizens feel bound to obey it? This is how outlaws are born, not for the love of chaos, but from the betrayal of a system that was never built for them. It gives a whole new depth to the meaning of Shabuzi's line in Spaghetti. Know the lawman watching me every time I move. Bounty on my head, can't go west, they on my shoes. No matter what the charges is, we ain't gonna tell the truth. Why would one tell the truth and obey a law and a land and a system of justice that was not built for them? This is the black flag, symbolizing rebellion, defiance, and refusal to submit. It is in contrast to the famous white flag. Waving your white flag means to surrender and give up. Historically, if a black flag were waved, it signaled no quarter, a wartime warning that no mercy would be given, no surrender accepted. Today, it's used by anarchists, revolutionaries, and anti-authoritarian groups to declare autonomy, rage, and non-compliance. It stands for the willingness to fight without compromise, to reject all systems and burn the old world down. In contrast, as I mentioned, the white flag waving is someone asking for truce and surrendering, pleading for peace. But if someone is carrying a black flag, especially in its historical and revolutionary context, they are declaring, as I defined, no quarter, which means that even if that other person is waving a white flag, the person with the black flag is not going to surrender to their plea for mercy. The black flag is saying, we are beyond compromise. It's not just defiance, it's a refusal to play by the rules of civility or war. So when a white flag is raised in front of a black one, the black flag bearer symbolically rejects the offer of peace. They see the system itself as illegitimate and beyond repair. And what would drive one to reject offers of peace? To reject someone seemingly so innocent wanting to wave their white flag and say, I'm done, I surrender, you win. Why would someone continue to show no mercy? It's because that someone has experienced betrayal at the hands of that white flag, when in the past that white flag was offering peace and surrender. Betrayal, like after Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which declared and set people free, only to be followed by Reconstruction, a brief window where the U.S. promised integration, land rights, and protection. For a moment it looked like the nation might begin to make good on its promise. But that moment was shattered. Federal troops withdrew, white supremacists and violence surged, Jim Crow laws were born. The promise was betrayed. Betrayed like after the Civil Rights Act, when laws were passed to protect voting rights and end segregation, only for those very rights to be chipped away case by case, year by year. Voter suppression returned. Policing grew more brutal. Redlining was introduced, locking black communities out of home ownership and wealth-building opportunities, while banks and institutions reinforced segregation under the guise of legal practice. The language of equality was used to mask inequality. Another betrayal from the supposedly white hand seeking mercy. Betrayed like every time there is progress in representation or inclusion, only to have it reversed, tokenized, or gutted. Diversity becomes a branding tool. Equity gets spoken more than it's practiced, and the ground we gain is ripped away beneath our feet. Betrayed again, as the current administration strips away DEI programs, undermining the very efforts meant to address the systemic equality and the promises that have been broken, leaving communities of color without the promised support. So no, a white flag doesn't always mean peace. The people carrying these black flags have been tricked over and over and over again that the people waving the white flags were really going to surrender and try to find a way to work forward. But as soon as those carrying the black flag showed mercy, those white flags took their previous seat back, usurped the power, and started to dominate them again. Sometimes a white hand reaches out pretending to offer safety, only to grip tighter, to lull you into trust, and use that same hand to drag you back down. History has shown surrendering to that hand isn't going to save you and is not going to promise you your freedom. It sets you up to be betrayed again. Where have we seen this? In Jordan Peele's Get Out. The Armitages want to help Chris, played by Daniel Kaluuya, quit smoking. So they say, let me do some hypnosis on you to help you quit smoking. They're saying, here is some help for you. Meanwhile, if you've seen the movie, of course you know, the whole reason for hypnotizing him is so they can swap his body out to bring back one of their crusty, dusty, musty, white family members in the body of a black man. Side note, I know some of you have seen the Jordan Peele Beyonce Nope theory circulating on Twitter and TikTok, and not to toot my own horn, but toot. I am the originator of that theory. I was the first to connect the themes to Nope with Beyonce's use of the horse in motion during America Has a Problem section of the Renaissance World Tour, linking it back to the film. I posted this video on February 16th, 2024, well over a year ago, and it's still relevant today if you want to go watch it. I also am the originator of the Beyonce Matrix theory. I posted this video on September 23rd, 2023, deep diving how Renaissance and the Matrix have many parallels. So if you come across anyone discussing these Jordan Peele theory ideas, Matrix theory ideas, feel free to point them in the right direction to the original source. I really appreciate when any of you guys tag me in comments saying that Lore Breakers is the one who originated this. I see all those comments. Thank you so much for supporting. But just need to let you know that. Anyway, this idea of rebellion and no mercy spurred by a lack of trust in systems that were not built for us calls for the Malcolm X flavor of civil rights. While Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. both fought for black liberation, Malcolm's differed sharply in its approach. Martin Luther King Jr. advocated for nonviolence, integration, civil disobedience rooted in Christian and Gandhian ideals. Malcolm X promoted black self-determination, self-defense, and rejected integration, viewing it as a submission to a racist system. While MLK appealed to America's conscience, Malcolm X challenged its legitimacy. With all that said, I believe the tour's American flag, now glitching, symbolizes the last remnants of the white supremacy trying to hold on. That last white pixel trying to hold on is, I think, significant of the old white patriarchy dying out. I specifically also think that the white pixel could represent the white country music establishment. It tried so hard to hold on and keep her out of it after they harshly rejected her in 2016. I think this fading, glitching white pixel could represent how they're fading out because with Cowboy Carter, with Beyonce ushering in this new wave of black country artists dominating the charts, it's snuffing out these old white racist ideals with the heel of her boot. Then, when we see her tour page finish all of the tour dates, it's going to be the full transition of a black and white American flag motif. And I think it's going to be signaling the arrival of Act 3 as rock, Black Betty. If Cowboy Carter represents the cowboy, Black Betty embodies the outlaw. I think Act 3 will be a true moment of rebellion, not just musically, but culturally and historically. Rooted in rock, it'll draw from politically charged defiant energy of pioneers like the first black punk band Bad Brains, who are from Washington, D.C., and the radical Rage Against the Machine. These bands just didn't make music, they used rock as a weapon to challenge systems that were never built for them, as I outlined before. There's a reason The Matrix ends with the Rage Against the Machine song Wake Up. The song is about waking up to a false reality and taking action against a machine that doesn't care about us and feeds on our energy. The Matrix is a scary, dystopian movie that feels eerily true to what's happening today. Also, if you think about it, America was a kind of machine living off the lifeblood and energy of enslaved people, just like these machines in the Matrix feed off the energy of the harvested body of their pod-born people. Remember this interlude of Beyonce on the Renaissance World Tour, connected with wires in this kind of watery pod looking eerily similar to the scene of Neo waking up? It's all connected. Again, watch my Matrix video. Remember, Tom Morello, the guitarist of Rage Against the Machine, posted this photo on his Instagram of his mother, Mary Morello, on her 101st birthday, and she's holding a giant copy of Renaissance signed and addressed by Beyonce, calling her Queen Mary. Why else would she have this? Beyonce and Rage Against the Machine are working together. But Act 3, of course, will be about reclaiming and honoring the legacies of rock pioneers like Little Richard, Prince, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Tina Turner, Chuck Berry, and others who were often sidelined by mainstream history, who titled Elvis as the King of Rock. We've already seen her dressed as these icons in the Cowboy Carter interludes. These artists didn't just create music, they shaped rock and roll, created it, injected it with their soul, raw energy, and defiance, only to have it stolen and crowned by white artists. In Act 3, I think we're going to see Beyonce at her most bold, using the tool of raucous, distorted, powerful, relentless rock chords to really push the boundary of what music can do and be activated to galvanize a resistance. At least I hope so. Visually, I see Act 3 being defined by black and red, black representing unyielding power, resistance, and transformation. But it's a color that speaks of grief, rage, and protest, but also holds space for growth and change. As the Renaissance means rebirth, and a matrix literally means a kind of womb. We are born in darkness. Darkness is life-giving. Red, I believe, is going to be involved because it's a color of anger, a color of rage, and it's also a color of love. And to heal America, we have to love it. In fact, anything, if we're going to heal it, we have to love it. We have to love our America, and this is, I think, why she's wearing these American flags. People think she's being nationalist or whatever. No. Beyonce and many other African Americans were born here and have been here for generations, and they have a right to wave the flag of the country that they were born into. They don't even know what country their ancestors were stolen from. This is the only flag that they have, and they have the right to wave it and redefine it. I don't see how it can be seen as nationalist or her standing for white racist ideals waving the flag. That doesn't make any sense. Use some critical thinking skills. She is reclaiming the flag, the reclamation of America, as we see in one of these interludes, because she's not going to be othered and pushed out of her own country that she was forced to be in. So, you know what? She said, "You stole my ancestors, and this is my land. This is my house." This is what she's saying. With love, you can heal anything. You cannot heal with hate. As she says in My House, "Lift me up even if I fall, let love heal us all." With all that said, thank you for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, comment a black heart and a guitar emoji. And if you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com/lorebreakers. Despite the persistent allegations that I am Julius, I do all of this work in my free time, and I am not paid by Parkwood, so your support really does help an average person pay their bills. Special thank you to Chidinma, Corey, James, Sarah, Sasha, and Kayla for recently supporting me. I am endlessly grateful. What you can do for free that is so helpful is subscribing, commenting, and sharing this video with other Deep Dive Hive members. I have a lot of exciting videos coming up, and I'm working on them as fast as I can. Do not worry, the interludes are getting full breakdowns as well as an Echoville series. I've made some wild finds in regards to what I think Act 4 Echoville is going to be. I even went to the library the other day and read a book in one sitting to do research for an upcoming video, because I love you guys that much. Anyways, that's all for now. Love or breakers.